Now the question about, does Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala want people to be killed by Muslims, or did He command Muslims to kill others? Again, this is another misconception. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in Quran mentioned a few places about killing non-Muslims. Now there is a context to all of those, and I can go to them and through them one by one if need be, but let me give you a clear overview of that. Now, the number one, there is a word that people misunderstand as well. There's a word called qatala, and there's a word called qatala. So the word qatala means to fight, and the qatala means to kill, and they're different words and different meanings. Now, as I mentioned in the first clip, that the pagans, the Meccans, when they were attacking Muslims on successive battles from a year second Hijrah, third, and then fifth, then there was a peace treaty in the year six of Hijrah, and finally they betrayed it, and on eighth, Muslims conquered Mecca with a huge army without having to have a big fight at all. There were small skirmishes here and there, but very, very subtle. Very few people, literally handful, less than a dozen people got dead or killed. So it was like very easy. Only one Muslim died, and maybe five or six of the non-Muslims were killed. So it was like simpler, very easy conquest. And everyone was forgiven, and there was no looting, no war booty. War booty in a sense that you would kill someone. There was no, people accepted Islam. People then came to Islam afterwards. No one was made to come to Islam. It has never been the idea because you cannot be Muslim if you're forced into Islam. Because to become a Muslim, you have to have a clear, number one, will to do so. So your heart, your mind should be accepting Islam. Otherwise, you'll be hypocrite, even if you say it outwardly. So there's no point. Even if any Muslim tyrant at some point in the world did that, or do it, or will do in future, that is not what Quran would ever advise, or Islam would ever advise, because by definition, for Muslim to be a Muslim, they must mean it in their heart and then proclaim it. Just mere proclamation of, shahadatain, which is kalima, which is saying the words ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wa ashhadu anna muhammadan abduhu wa rasuluh. Just mere saying that does not make anyone Muslim, even if you have many witnesses, as long as it is not, settled inside your heart or in your mind. To not have that clear idea, and only you would know. Obviously, God would know. Angels would know, maybe, those who were noting down the records. But you would know whether you have that in the heart. So no one can force you. And that is why Quran categorically mentioned in the second surah as well, says, La ikraha fi deen. So the second surah, I think it's about in the beginning of the third juz called Tilka Rusul. It comes straight after Ayatul Kursi, Allahu la ilaha illahu. Anyway, I can send you the reference if need be. La ikraha fi deen. There's no compulsion in deen. No compulsion in deen. Why that is? Because to make anyone Muslim, that's completely a nonsensical idea. You cannot make anyone believe in what you want or what you want them to believe in unless they want willingly to accept that. So there's no point in making anyone Muslim. It doesn't help anyone. Because, as you said very rightly so, then what's the point? The point is voluntarily doing good thing. Now, once you have accepted Islam, that's a different matter. There are certain punishments for those who have accepted Islam and not doing the thing rightly. Then they could be punished for not doing, because then you may say, oh, why they have been compelled, or why there's any compulsion on that. There will be. It's like, if you have not entered into the school or college, or, for studying on any course, you would not be ruled over by the principal. You would not be detained. You would not be punished. You would not be given any time off, being in the detention or whatever. There are many people who waste their time They're half an hour, few hours late, so what? As long as you are not enrolled willingly. So once you have enrolled yourself into the system, then you have to stick with the rules. You can't just be in the school and yet doing things what you would do in outside of the school. For example, not coming on time, delaying it, missing out on things, cheating on certain things, behaving badly, being rude to someone. So if you keep doing that, there may be a small punishment for that. That's fine. That is the rule, whatever that rule is, that has to be stuck to once you have voluntarily submitted to that or enroll yourself into that course or the system. Not for anyone and everyone. So clear that in mind. Have a very clear idea on this. So once you are a Muslim, that's a different matter. But for non-Muslim, there has been no historical fact. You could just go over and find out Muslims never. If you were to see the Muslims were for 1,000 years in India, do you think if they forced people, there would have been more Muslims than non-Muslim? How many non-Muslims are there? There's still vast majority of Hindus there than there is Muslims. Could that be possible at any point in history if they were forced, like was in any part of the world? Unlike in Spain, what the Christians have done to kill every Muslim there to the point that they didn't leave anyone, yet you would not find any Muslim there anymore, where they have actually worked for about how many years? Good 800 years, 800 years. Muslims lived with their neighbors without any trouble. Yeah, there may be few tyrants here and there. I'm not talking about them. They might have done whatever atrocities they have done, but that's for their own personal power and their rule, their kingdom, not for Islam, not for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because had they known what the rule of game is, how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wanted to be, they'll be very, much in pain because they have highest responsibility with regards to their subjects. So it is very, very important that we understand that and not get fooled by what the media says. So no, clearly not. There's no compulsion. So the words are either to fight them. Number two, if there was a killing concept, that is for the pagans of Mecca, only those who had done killing to the Muslims. And it is specific to them. It is very, very specific to them. Not for anyone and everyone. Not for you wherever. If that was the command, God forbid, and people took it as non-Muslims take it, oh, it means this. Some of them, not everyone, some of them who study deeper, they understand that this is not what it says. That is why I keep saying, read the Quran in totality, from beginning to the end for yourself, and ask God to guide you, whoever you consider to be God. Ask to give you true guidance, whatever it is, whichever religion, and you would get it. The trouble is when you come up with some baggages, some ideas, conceived ideas, read from here, got from this website or from this and that, that doesn't help. Propaganda and whatever, because then you would end up looking into those folds here and there, which you can find in anything and everything, as I mentioned before. Anyway, so the bottom line is, when the fight is being mentioned, that is against the tyranny, that's perfectly fine. There should be no problem with that. When it comes to killing, some of the verses say, you kill them wherever you find them. Just the context of that, just before those few verses, if you just read all of them together, you will find out this is in that context where they have been fighting you and killing you. So you cannot, in retaliation, say, you know what, since killing is not allowed generally, وَمَنْ قَتَلَ النَّاسَ فَكَأَنَّمَا قَتَلَ النَّاسَ جَمِيعًا. So if you أنه من قتل نفسا بغير نفس أو فساد في الأرض فكأنما قتل الناس جميعا, then you may not want to lift your hand up to kill anyone. No, you can't do that. You have to, because they have done the same to you. Otherwise, they would attack you. So you have to do it in order to save yourself. That was for a specific group of people in and around Mecca, to save Muslims. And you could count how many non-Muslims were killed in all of the battles that Muslims have done with Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So he's the ultimate man to follow it. In his life, you would find less than 500 people were killed. You'll be amazed to see. And he conquered in the most peaceful way and converted more than hundreds of thousands of people at that time. Within 23 years, everything, because the city that he was, made to flee from, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he is the one who's coming there as a conqueror, and without killing people, without causing any trouble in the most. That is why if you read the book The Hundreds by Michael Hart, who's a Christian, staunch Christian, but he said, I have no choice but to make him the best man with regards to his successes in the world. Look at what he has said. I don't have to say. Oh, in fact, you could read many stuff from non-Muslim about him and his work. So he is the embodiment of Quran. Look at his life, and you will find out what he has done. There are books written about him by non-Muslims. Read it, and you will understand, inshallah ta'ala. But anyway, so there is context to everything. There is, if you find out, you'll be amazed how much love is there for Muslims and non-Muslim alike in Quran and in the seerah, in the life history of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Let alone, in the practices which has been throughout. You could see how Muslims lived in, Syria and in Palestine. They've been fantastic. So there'd be no problem with it at all. But anyway, it's up to people how they want to look at things. If they really want to know the truth, they would spend time reading stuff, knowing it properly, rather than going through media. May Allah give us all the tawfiq and understanding.